I knew this was coming. There were warnings.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. Look, we're doing Super Tuesday update here. We got Trump, who's been leading, who is going to lead and win here on Super Tuesday. I'm doing this early in the day, so if you watch it and the results are already in, I'm recording this prior to all the results being released. But hey, we got Clinton in the lead for the Democrats, and we got Trump in the lead for the Republicans. And a lot of people, let's talk about Trump for a moment here. A lot of people hate Trump. They're worried about him kicking out illegal aliens, and that supposedly is inhumane, and people are worried about that. You know, people act like it's such a big deal. I mean, I get certain people are going to be affected by it, but I mean, if you went somewhere, committed a crime, and then all of a sudden the country enforced the law, wouldn't it make sense to you that you are going to go back to your own country where you broke the law and now it's being enforced? I don't think that's a out of the box mentality. I think people would expect that and just hope they get away with it. And actually enforcing laws and actually building a wall. I mean, what's wrong with locking your front door? It doesn't mean you hate your neighbor. It doesn't mean you hate your neighbor just because you locked your front door. You're just saying, hey, this is my house, and at this moment, we are going to sleep, and we need to make sure that no one comes in the middle of the night. And because we have a system here, we have entitlements, we have all these different things that are for the people who live inside of the house, not for everyone else to come and jump on the things that taxpayers pay for. Again, I don't support all these entitlements. I don't support all this redistribution of wealth, but that's what we have here, and we have this flood of poor people coming into the country, having children, and being a burden on the taxpayer, and it's killing the economy. It's making it difficult for businesses here in America to compete, and we've seen a lot of businesses leave as a result of it. Trump talks about Carrier going to Mexico, a big company that sells air conditioners, a big U.S. company leaving, the Midwest, going into Mexico. That's a problem. We're losing because of high regulations and taxes here in the States. And I live in California, where it's really bad. I mean, the state and the bureaucrats here are just dying to raise taxes and make it very difficult for people who produce to actually stay here. Now, what California has going for it is that it's beautiful. There's beaches, there's mountains, there's great weather, and there's nice golf courses. You don't have to be in the snow in January. You can be out in shorts and a t-shirt in a 75-degree day playing golf. And this is seriously the biggest economic driver that California has for it, and the bureaucrats exploit that, but they're driving away the producers. It's not this zero-sum game where you take money from someone that is producing and you give it to someone who isn't producing, and the money stays the same. You have the same amount of money in the economy. But what happens when the producer leaves and you're still giving that money to the non-contributor? Now you have a negative. You have a bigger problem. You have more people on the system, and over time, the system implodes. I mean, you can look at Europe, who is a major socialist conglomerate of countries, and you can see all the problems that they have there. Greece is a prime example, and all these different countries within Europe that are just completely socialized, and it's just almost impossible for businesses to run efficiently, and that's what we have here in the States. And you know what? A guy like Donald Trump, who has been successful in business, understands how to do a deal. I mean, these are important things. Again, I wish he was a little less abrasive and rough around the edges. I understand the complaint that he doesn't seem presidential when he talks, but you know what? When it's all said and done, it really comes down to money and personal freedoms. And Donald Trump, he's not even like that extreme. I mean, you know, maybe a more ideal candidate would have been like a Rand Paul, or even more ideal, a Ron Paul. You know, a guy who really wants limited government. But, you know, that's not what we have here in America. You need someone that, unfortunately, meets people in the middle, because these third-party outside candidates can't seem to gain enough traction. And Donald Trump is kind of the best of the worst, I would say, that actually has a chance in winning. And, you know, look at Common Core, by the way. This is the schooling education system that we now have in America that's just indoctrinating our kids. I mean, Donald Trump wants to do away with that and kind of localize it. I think this is a better idea. And Common Core is just discrediting parents. It's taking the power out of parents. It's saying that the government knows what's best for our children. And their kids are coming home saying, you know, you don't know what is best for me, mom and dad. You don't understand. And this is what teachers are telling the kids. And it's through this Common Core indoctrination of kids that the progressive agenda is trying to push forward. And it is a problem here in America. And as a parent who has a 2-year-old and a baby on the way, I'm very concerned about the indoctrination that this liberal mentality, this liberal agenda has on my kids. And I want none of that. I want absolutely none of that. I want my kid to think out of the box. I want him to think like an entrepreneur, not like a worker bee. I want him to think for himself and not just be controlled by some $30,000 a year teacher who is just passing down government propaganda. And again, nothing against teachers. You know, I know there's a lot of good ones out there, but you know what? The fact is I don't want my kid to be the same. I want him to be different and to think for himself and to really have that success mindset. And that's just not what the agenda of Common Core is teaching. And I do have an issue with that, and I'm glad there's people out there that want to do away with it. Look, Obamacare is something people are absolutely pissed about. Obamacare is this mandated insurance. Obama goes out and brags about how so many people are now insured and the rate of the uninsured is so low. Well, yeah, sure, when you penalize people for not getting the insurance and then brag about how you've insured all these people, yeah, that's not much of an accomplishment. That's more of a fallacy. And there's an issue with the fact that government is forcing people to be insured. And we are seeing them, you know, keeping all of these pre-existing conditions. So we're paying for all of this, you know, people that have overweight problems, people that have smoked all their lives, people that have treated their bodies like crap, and the benefit for someone who's been healthy is not there. And actually, that's a complaint I have with Donald Trump. He's going to allow pre-existing conditions still. Again, this is him being a little more middle of the road and I guess electable. I'm not saying I agree with that, but again, best of the worst. And, you know, he wants to create more competition, you know, around pharmaceutical companies or the insurance companies, because these insurance companies have a monopoly on the individual states. And that is a huge reason why we're seeing premiums go up. When I had my child in 2014, it cost me, not including premiums, it cost me about $6,000 between hospital expenses and maternity doctor visits that my wife went through. It costed us $6,000, and it was going to be $5,000. But at the beginning of the year, it was the implementation of Obamacare. The beginning of 2014, everything went up. You know that whole thing about being able to keep your plan and premiums not going up and deductibles not going up. Well, that absolutely did not happen for me. I got screwed with Obamacare, and as it was, health insurance was already expensive. We don't even have regular health insurance anymore. Everything is catastrophic if you consider the fact that you have this $2,500 or $3,000 deductible. You basically have catastrophic insurance. The average person to come up with $3,000 is a lot of money. So it is catastrophic insurance. And it's a problem here in this country. Look, I'm frustrated, with the way the direction the politics has gone. I mean, you could talk about what we are seeing with the Federal Reserve, the manipulation of the economy, talk about the liberal agenda, the government that's just becoming more and more of an intrusion in our life. I don't know how you turn that around. I don't even know how Donald Trump is going to go in and make these changes and how he's actually going to repeal and replace Obamacare, because once you get a government program in place, it's extremely difficult to reverse. And once people start getting free stuff, because there's a lot of people who are benefiting from Obamacare, it's the people who aren't making enough money to actually contribute, so they qualify for all the subsidies, they qualify for potentially free Obamacare. So for them, it's worked out. And Obamacare looks great, and therefore they are going to continue to vote for more and more free stuff that the Democrats are promising them. And that is another problem. Voting yourself free stuff. And I'm going to say this right here. There used to be a time where you had to own property to vote, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But you know what? I actually do think it makes a lot of sense for people who actually pay taxes and don't receive benefits from the government to be able to vote. How does it make sense that someone who gets free stuff from the government gets to vote on it? It should be the people who are producing. The other problem is that you have contributions from all these big companies, and they get their, quote unquote entitlements too, because they're manipulating government policies to benefit their own situation. You got to get rid of that as well. You got to get rid of these special donations, these contributions, these lobbyists that go and manipulate the candidates and the policies that are in place. That's a problem, as well as people who get free stuff from the government voting. It's all an issue, and it's almost unfixable if you ask me. But if I was to say who I officially support in the best of the worst situation, it is Donald Trump at the moment.